I mean, I've opened panels where the wires are just literally just
everywhere.
packed in there, just packed.
So what do you say to that?
Should have did a better job.
Hello, everyone, and this is another edition of Homesight Insight. And we do talk to all different people in the industry, and I am very happy to have Curt Napierala from CTE Electrical Contractors. We have lots to talk about when it comes to electrical. Thanks for being here, Curt. I appreciate you being here.
I'm glad to be here.
We've been here. I've known you for how long? I don't know.
Oh, at least 20 years.
At least? Long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Did I do some inspections for you?
Yes, you did. You did our home inspections, and we looked for 3 years, so you did a few of them.
Didn't you have one that had a wood basement?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of like the 4 houses I inspected that had wood basements. Was that an Eagle or something?
McGuanago.
McGuanago.
Yep.
And you didn't buy it just because it was a wood basement.
Yes. Well, they didn't disclose that to us. You found that out actually, and yeah.
It scared you.
Oh yeah. Who wants a wood foundation? Yeah. I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
So-
they're rare, but there's a handful. And I still talk about that basement. Not that there was anything particularly wrong with it, but that it's unique and people, they're either in bad shape or people are scared because it's wood.
Right. Well, it was all finished rooms down there, and you couldn't see anything really. So,
Mhm.
like I said, yeah, it was scary. And again, they didn't disclose that, and
Maybe they didn't know.
They knew.
Okay. I
Well,
don't know. Does that even need to be disclosed? I mean, you don't disclose that it's a concrete basement, so I don't know. That's something for a realtor to decide.
But it's hard to inspect when the walls are all closed up too. Generally, basement you have the brick wall, and
Yeah.
you can see it if there's cracks or anything, and wood rots. So,
But rots over time, sure.
oh yeah, you hear the horror stories on stuff. People bought a house. My cousin bought a house one time, and they had flooding issues that they didn't disclose. Basement was flooded a few times, and it flooded after they bought the house, and
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some shady stuff that goes
That-
on out there.
Property condition report doesn't always get the
Right.
right
right.
stuff put on it, so
Right.
to speak. But let's talk about you. How did you get to be an electrician, and where are you at now? I mean, you're a one-man show now, right? And
Yes,
you like
I
it
am.
that way.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you get to be where you're at?
It's sort of a funny story. I went to Boys Tech for high school, and I took plumbing, and went through the 4 years in high school, and then grades were good enough. They'd ask you to come back for post-grad year, so I did that, and that was just plumbing shop all day long, and got on an apprenticeship list and everything, but work was slow then. Well, one of my friends in the plumbing shop got into electrical.
Okay.
So the contractor he was working for actually shared a building with another electrical contractor. And he was looking for somebody, and my friend called me, and, it's a long story. I ended up working for this other contractor, and the guy was a great teacher. Within 3 months, he had me out on my own in a van doing service
Wow.
changes. Yeah, I sort of picked up on it quick, I guess you could say. But it worked out. And, I did get a call for start my apprenticeship in the plumbing, but they're like, yeah, you're going to be out doing sewers, digging ditches. And I thought,
Oh yeah.
you know what? Sort of
Electrician
what?
thing is so bad.
Right. The electrical thing worked out good, and, got into the schooling and everything. And like I said, it all worked out good. And to this day, I still talk to my first boss from 37 years ago. He ended up being an inspector, and I still talk to a lot of my old bosses. Actually, I still help a lot of them out. Call me, hey, can you take this job for me? I can't get to it, or can you actually come out and help us with this bigger one?
Sure.
Big service change or something. So it's nice that,
Good. You got good relationships.
yeah,
yet.
it's nice that they still think of me that
Yeah.
way, So, yeah, and
And you deal with
you know.
mostly residential now, or
yeah, mostly residential. I'll do some light commercial. I am a one-man deal, so it's obviously hard to do some of those bigger jobs by yourself. I can get help now and then. I've done some bigger buildings and stuff with some help from guys I've worked with in the past, and I got a family member that's a master electrician has his own business, so he'll help me out, and
So
vice
you got the
versa,
resources if you need them.
if I need them.
If you need
You
'em.
know, but I try to stay small. I do mostly residential remodeling and stuff for
And
basement.
lots of advertising, right?
I don't advertise anywhere. My advertising is word of mouth, basically.
No advertising. We were just
No.
having a discussion before the interview. No advertising, no website, no Facebook, no nothing. Everything's word of mouth, and you stay busy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Still
I know
doing
you've
it.
helped us out a couple times
Oh yeah.
with stuff on home inspections and my own personal residence.
Right.
So I mean, I definitely I feel if I refer you to a job, it's going to be done right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as opposed to you say some of the electricians out there aren't the best.
Some of the stuff I've run across, people call me up and ask me about something. They'll say, "Well, I had an electrician do this, but it's not working right." And I get there, and it's like, yes, I hate to say it, but you didn't have an electrician here. Some of the stuff you run across is pretty scary. And I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've literally seen people take screws and self-tapping screws right into the bus bar in their panel and just
Ooh.
wrap a wire under it instead of buying a $7 breaker. They rather risk their life.
It's crazy. That stuff does kill.
Oh yeah. If that screw would have hit the back of the panel,
How many times you been electrocuted?
never.
Really?
Really?
Are you kidding me?
No.
And you've been doing this for how long?
37 years
37 years, and
in the field.
you have. Wow, that's amazing. Usually you get bit a little bit. I mean, even as a home inspector, I've been bit.
I've taken a little shock here and there, but I mean, nothing ever major. You'll be in there. You get into some of the older homes, and they leave you 2 inches of wire in the box, barely enough to even get the screw off the outlet or the switch. And I've been in there where trying to get it with pliers in there, and it's shorted out. But
Yeah. Okay. All right.
yeah, I've never taken.
But
a
never
big shot.
like.
No. You know what? I take that back. When I first started, I shouldn't even say that. That was more the spark thing. I never really took a hard hit. I got the sparks flying, when you first start.
Well, that's enough to make you
Yeah, you learn quick.
get your attention real
It's
quick.
like you see the sparks fly. It's like, yeah, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you pay attention and you learn quick.
Too.
Right. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there. Get into the remodels and you start opening up walls and there's just wires spliced in the wall. No box or anything. Again,
It's amazing.
Yeah, you've seen some of this stuff.
Well, I mean, we can't tear apart walls. So I mean, if something's
Right.
behind a wall, I mean, we don't know. But
Right, I run across it, like I said, in the remodels where they're opening the walls up to
you're like, gee whiz.
Yeah, you see all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: would you prefer to do? Well, I think I know the answer. Prefer to do an installation or fix a job that's gone bad?
It really doesn't matter. I do both.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do a lot of troubleshooting.
Okay.
Like I said, people call up, oh, yeah, my 3-way switch ain't working, and again, there's multiple ways to wire it and stuff. So being in the trade long enough, you sort of learn to figure that stuff out. I know guys that have been in the trade for a while, and they just can't understand how a 3-way works. You start adding 4-ways in there.
Oh boy.
You could have 6, 7, 8, 10 switches that control the same light, and you can actually take your feed to any one of those, and you can pull your switch leg out of any one of those switches. So it's not hard to figure out once you have the basics, and you've been doing it for, like I said,
Forever.
37
Doing
years.
your
Yeah. It's, again, if you have buried wires in the wall and stuff, I mean, it's not always an easy fix.
Right. You got to.
Yeah. I mean, I ran across one job
Fish.
where she was losing power in parts of her basement, parts of her first floor, and parts of her second floor. We're all on the same circuit. And this was,
boy.
yeah. And it was sporadic. She's like, I'd come home and the breaker would be off. She's like, we weren't even home when the breaker would trip. And it ended up being, it took a while to find this, but it ended up being a nail through a wire up in the attic. The roofer put a nail through an old BX cable in the attic. So it must have just been when the roof got hot enough and that nail expanded. It's just enough to short that wire out. Try and find something like that. I mean, I had to go through
That will not be caught on a home
box.
inspection.
No. Yeah, so I mean, you do run across some stuff that's, can be challenging. But then again, a lot of stuff too is just, the homeowner replaced the 3-way switch and just hooked the wires up wrong.
Right.
They always figure, well, if I put them back on the same way they came off the old switch, it'll work.
Search online.
Yeah.
The internet.
Oh,
YouTube.
they should outlaw those books. Wiring 1, 2, 3. They don't really get into the code. The code changes every 3 years, so it's stuff you have to stay up on.
Yeah.
And the basics is basically all you get out of those books. You're not getting any code references or anything generally. And
yeah,
like I said, you've seen some of the stuff out there.
It's one of the most common things we see, and especially. I tell people 3 locations are the most popular. Garages are huge. Everybody's an electrician in a garage for some reason. Attics are huge, and basements are huge.
Yes.
Everybody feels they can just run everything. And I mean, we see it basically in every single inspection. The older the house is, the better chance I'm going to find it, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
the older the house, definitely you have, how many people have lived in that house and how many people think that, we can just run this over here and add a light or...
Right.
I know exactly what you mean. I see it all the time too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But you got to fix it.
Yeah, I got to fix it.
So, you mind if I ask you a couple questions of the things we find in on home inspections?
Sure.
And it can vary depending on home inspector to home inspector, and maybe just give me your perspective on it. So, for instance, this is big in the home inspection industry. Round meter socket outside, original panel inside. How many amps is that, and does it need repair?
60 amp, and generally, the old 60 amp services, everything's working, okay. But problem is, when they built that house, they didn't have all the appliances and stuff we have now.
Right.
So people start adding stuff and putting on the same fuse. Next thing you know, you're blowing fuses, and generally, if you go to sell the home, the banks want to see it upgraded to at least 100 amp with the breakers. So
well, now what if the panel? What if the breaker says 100, the wire is number 4, and the panel says 100 amps? Is it still 60?
The meter amp is only rated, or the meter socket is only rated for 60 amp.
But does that mean it can't get 100?
Well, if you go over 60 amp, you're probably gonna. If you actually draw over 60 amps, you're probably gonna blow that meter socket. But to draw 60 amps, I mean, you really have to have, everything in your house on, really.
Okay.
So you don't see it too often where they actually blow a meter socket. That's very, very rare. Okay. But again, it is only rated for 60. So
could it be it should be upgraded because it's below minimal standards?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Maybe consider upgrading it because it's below minimal standards. Doesn't necessarily have to, depending on what's being used in the house.
Right. But again, most banks will require it. They'd like to see that.
100 amps.
Yes, and the code is 100 amp minimum.
Yep.
Any new construction, you're going 100 amp minimum.
It's funny because home inspectors will play that all different, and it's because they're hearing different things from different people.
Right.
That's why I thought we would just talk about it today. Thanks for touching on that.
And generally, too, you have your old 60 amp services. They're not ground. They might have grounded them. Sometimes you'll get a water ground. Sometimes you'll
disconnected.
Sometimes there'll be one rod out there with no water ground. Again, people disconnect things through the years.
They do.
Yeah.
A lot of times that ground wire to the water pipe is gone.
Yep.
Cut.
Corroded.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or even the jumper's missing.
Right. If you do have the old fuses, 60 amp service, it definitely is recommended that you upgrade.
All right. Good to know. How about sub panels? I see probably 9 out of 10 wired incorrectly.
Yes.
Why does everybody feel they can install a sub panel themselves?
I guess it's the books they sell in the stores. Wiring made easy. 1, 2, 3. Wire your whole house. Again, they don't, mention any code articles generally in those. They just give you the basics, and people figure, it looks easy enough, and
then neutrals and grounds are always on the same bus bar.
Yes, they're not supposed to be in a sub panel.
Right.
Again, like I said, they don't tell you that stuff in these books, or hey, my buddy was an electrician at one point and he said all you got to do is this, and they don't get the whole story, and next thing the house is burning down. But yeah, like I said, you see all kinds of do-it-yourself stuff out there. You see it all the time. I see it all the time.
And it's serious stuff because
yeah.
it can burn your house down.
Yeah. definitely. You can get hurt. You can get seriously hurt.
I remember in one inspection, I had somebody really upset that I went as nitpicky as writing up a metal screw in a panel cover, a pointy one.
Okay.
And that, if you puncture a wire or touch a wire with that thing because it's sharp, I mean that's pretty.
You're gonna wreck that wire for sure.
Yeah, and we see that quite often too, and that's why I reported on it, because it can be an issue.
Well, again, you get into some of them older fuse boxes, and things have been added, and there's so many wires. I mean, I've opened panels where the wires are just literally
everywhere,
just packed in there, just packed.
So what do you say to that?
Should have did a better job. Generally, like if I'm doing a new panel, I'll bring my wires down and measure them out and cut them. I don't loop them back and forth and wrap them up and stuff them in there.
I mean, would you say that most electricians are kind of proud of their work when they do work by themselves?
Good electricians.
They're going to like make it nice and neat. When I open up a panel, I see that, I'm like,
yes.
Well done.
Well done. That's exactly what I think. Yeah, if you're a good electrician, that's what you'll do.
Take some pride in that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Any guy in a trade should take some pride in his work.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't, why are you doing this?
Exactly.
Electricity is not something to mess with. I mean, people can get seriously hurt.
Yeah.
And again, a simple thing like a panel screw, like you said, you get these panels that are packed, and you go to put that cover on, you're screwing that wire in there, and it goes right into hot wire.
It could hurt you, or it could burn the house down.
Well, hopefully it's fused properly, and you're good. Trip the breaker. Right. That's the purpose of the fuses and the breakers.
Okay.
But yeah, you're just asking for trouble.
Okay. How about, this is something we find on every single home inspection, double tapping. How bad is it?
I don't want to say it's really bad, because it really is a simple fix. When you say double tapping, all you're talking about are two wires
on the breaker.
Or more. Right.
Triple tapping.
They just want one wire under that breaker. So if you have a double tap, basically all I need to do is go in there, pull them two wires off, add a wire to it, wire them together, and run the one wire to the breaker. Simple fix. Yeah.
How about square D breakers? Can they take two wires?
No.
Really?
Well, if you look at it, it looks like they can.
Yes.
But nobody wants to see a double tap in a panel, especially the inspectors. So,
really? Okay.
Yeah, I just say no. Just get rid of the double taps. Make everybody happy. You're not going to have any problems down the road.
All right. Good advice. How about when people replace the breakers in their panel?
Mm-hmm.
And they just go buy one from the hardware store. They don't know if it's compatible with the panel. How serious is that?
That can be serious. If that breaker's not rated for that panel, you can burn that breaker up. It can be faulty, and again, then you won't have any protection. And at that point, what's going to happen is the wire is going to start burning. And the wire is going to start burning from that panel all the way up through the wall, through the house, and you don't want that. So you definitely want to use the proper breaker for your panel.
You just don't buy a breaker online or whatever, because we see a lot of breakers replaced.
Yeah.
And we don't, as home inspectors, go that extent to say, hey, these are qualified for these breakers. We just point out that the breaker's been replaced, and you may want to consult to make sure these are compatible with the panel.
Right. And you see it a lot, some of the panels out there will accept multiple brands of breakers. They fit in the panel, but that breaker has not been UL approved for that panel. So there have been issues.
Okay. Good to know. That's why we bring it up.
Yeah, that's the reason they want you to make sure you have the proper breaker for that panel.
How about some problematic panels that we see quite a bit out there? And I know we've discussed in the past off camera, but something we find every now and then is the Federal Pacific panel. As far as my understanding, they've never really been recalled, but they've been deemed unsafe.
Right. There was another panel out there. So many out there. I can't think of it, but there have been some that have been recalled. And
Zinsco?
Zinskos are rare. I think in the 37 years I've been in the field, I've only ran across 3 Zinsko panels.
We see them all the time.
Really?
All the time.
Well, you're luckier than I am then.
Zinsco, and how do you spell that? Is Zinsco.
Yes.
Home inspectors are trained that this is an unsafe panel. It should be replaced.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Federal Pacific, can be an unsafe panel.
Right.
But now the push-o-matic is not necessarily unsafe, it's problematic. Correct?
Yeah, it seems that
Because we see those too out there.
yes, the breakers just go eventually.
Yeah, you turn it off and it won't reset.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is it hard to find those breakers?
There are companies out there that make the aftermarket that fit those,
Okay.
and they're rated for it, but I have to order them. It's not something that's like in stock at any of the supply houses.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Can't go to like Home Depot and get it.
No. No, like I said, even the supply houses don't stock them generally.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can get them, but I have to order them, and with this COVID thing going on right now and everything.
Messes everything up.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to order a lousy 3-phase breaker for a compressor I wired at a shop, and, it's sort of a common breaker. And
They don't have it, huh?
right. I mean, they were running out of 2-gang plastic nail-up boxes. I mean, suppliers are having trouble keeping supplies in stock right now.
And you say it's expensive, too.
Oh, yeah, it started out with the tariffs on the metal.
Yeah.
I mean, prices doubled on electrical conduit, metal boxes. Everything's just going up. And now with the COVID, these manufacturing plants are shutting down half their lines, and they can't keep up with the demand. So when I can't get a 2-gang plastic nail-up box, that's not good.
Yeah, that's...
Or a breaker, it's like, well, how do you tell somebody, oh, I can't find a 30-amp 2-pole breaker for your water heater? You're going to have to wait 2 weeks.
Oh, boy. They're not
Yeah,
happy.
not happy.
Then right away they look at you as being like, you're the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm doing a lot of extra running around and chasing to try to find some materials. I mean, I can still get a lot of them, but it's sort of weird how you can't get this week, but you can get the next week, but we don't have this now. So,
it's got to be frustrating.
A little bit.
Things you kind of don't even think about. You just like fix it, and you're like, why can't you fix it? Well, my hands are tied, so.
Right. Like I said, it's just a little extra running around chasing, trying to find some of the material that you need now.
Okay.
Hopefully that all comes back soon,
What's your thoughts on, this is something we see a lot out there, older houses, knob and tube wiring.
Mm-hmm.
Is it...
There's no ground on that system, so that's, a major factor right there.
It should be updated.
Yes.
Would you say every electrician would say that?
I would hope so.
Okay.
They should all know that by now. Generally, any inspector sees knob and tube, they want right away, they're going to call you and say, hey, no, that's all got to go.
So it doesn't matter if it's in good condition, if it's free of insulation, free of splices, it's there, it's got to go.
It should.
Okay.
I mean, that stuff was just splices in the walls. Literally, they spliced the stuff in the walls, no boxes or anything. They soldered it together and taped it up. So, and again, with no ground, the no ground is probably a bigger issue.
Okay.
You want a grounding. That's what's going to save you some shocks.
Well, then that would go also with the 2-prong outlet, right?
Yes.
Should be updated.
Well, yes and no. They're, again, not only knob and tube didn't have a ground, there was also some old cabling that didn't have a ground. It's like an old black colored cloth wiring that had the 2 wires inside, sort of like a Romex, but it was a cloth insulation on the outside, no ground in there. You run across that stuff. If you don't have a ground at that box, you really should not install a 3-prong outlet then, because it's not going to be grounded anyway.
And it advertises a ground.
Right.
Right.
So
unless you get a sticker that says
no ground,
no equipment ground.
Right.
And everybody's got those stickers.
Sure they do. Yeah, if you have that in there, you really should just put the 2-prong outlet back in then.
Okay. All right.
And you can legally.
Okay. All right. Aluminum wiring. Do we see a lot of solid strand aluminum wiring?
I don't.
I don't either.
I really don't see a lot of aluminum wiring.
I see multi-strand, but not solid strand.
Yeah, generally the only place I'll see on like new construction now is the aluminum for the cable from your meter to your panel. Mm-hmm. It's just way cheaper, and it's just from your meter to your panel, so it's the cable coming in. So that's about the only place I ever really see aluminum wire now.
Okay.
And copper is a way better conductor.
Yeah.
And if you do use aluminum, you have to obviously oversize it because it's not as good of a conductor. So
right, usually goes 1 step up, right?
Yeah, 1 to 2 steps. Yeah.
Anything else to add? Anything else? He could go on and on and on and on.
Oh yeah, we could talk all day about electrical.
Let me ask you this: when you probably get the same question as I get when people call for our services. They're like, "Well, is he expensive? Are you expensive?"
I'd say I'm in the middle.
Okay.
I'm not the cheapest guy out there, but I'm by far not the most expensive. You know, some of these bigger companies, which we won't name names, but you know, they're advertising on TV and stuff, and they've been around forever, and you know, they got 100+ people working for them, and you know, you're gonna pay for that name. You know, just because they've been out.
Right.
I've worked for some of those companies. You know, and then again, there's cheaper guys out there than me too, but you know, there's some truth to you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
You know, if you want cheap, well, is cheap really worth it? Because in the long run, you're probably going to end up paying more because you're going to have it fixed at some point.
Right. Or you said, we were talking before that they'll bottom ball it and then later tell you it's going to cost you more once they got their foot in the door to start working on it, right?
Oh yeah, as far as, you know, like what I do in my business is I just, even with the contractors I work for, I do time and material. Especially on the remodels on existing homes and stuff, there's multiple ways circuits can be wired. And we were talking about the 3-way switch. I mean, you can wire that multiple ways, and you don't know what they've done, and so you have to move a box 3 inches over on a remodel, you know, because cabinet moves. They're putting a cabinet in there. All of a sudden, the wire doesn't reach. Well, that's stuff you really can't see until you actually get the walls open. So. You know, there's some contractors out there, you know, they'll lowball it, and then they'll get in there, and it's, you know, when the job's done, oh, it's going to be another $3,000 just because, well, we didn't foresee this and we had to do that, and
right.
So, like I said, I think it's fair for everybody. It's fair for me. It's fair for the homeowner. I mean, you basically pay for my time and the material. I don't really add 10 or 20% to my material. Basically, you know, if I spend $203 on material, I'm going to charge $205, and that's my markup. I just sort of round it up to the next fifth dollar. You know, and I obviously do pull stuff off my truck, you know, which I'll, you know, add to the bill and stuff. But like I said, on the remodels,
sure,
you can't see what's in the walls, right. You know, so you don't know what you're going to run into, and I'd rather just be fair for everybody.
Got it.
I've been doing this 37 years, so, you know, when I get in there, you know, I'm not one of these guys. I'll come to the job and have a cup of coffee and make 20 phone calls when I get there. I'm there to work. So let's get the job done. You know, most of the contractors I work for are really good. By the time I get there, they'll have everything opened up already, or if I have to open some up, generally it's not a lot, so I can see what I got to deal with right away.
Yeah.
You know, if the homeowner's home, a lot of times they're not even home. People work, you know, both husband and wife work. So, you know, I give them a call after work or whatever and talk to them and say, hey, we ran across this, and, you know, you might want to think about doing this, or can we, you know, be cheaper for me just to put a junction box inside your cabinet if you don't have glass doors than to try and rerun all them wires.
Different options.
Right.
Different options.
Right.
Sure.
So,
got it.
All right.
How can they reach you, Curt?
All they gotta do is call.
What's the phone number?
It's area code 414-651-7030.
And would you say you do the greater Milwaukee area, Waukesha area?
I pretty much go where the work is. I mean, I've done some houses up in Door County.
Okay.
For contractors I work for, guys are building homes and
Got
stuff.
it.
But I've done work for some other people out in Madison for a while there. I started my business in '09, which was right after the economy sort of took a hit. And one of the contractors I worked for was doing work for Fannie Mae.
Oh, okay.
So I was getting around. They'd have me go out and do, you know,
Wherever it goes.
Wherever it goes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd go out and do the inspections, give them quotes, you know, so
okay.
they can turn around, resell the house.
do you prefer an email or a call?
Phone call. Give me a call. I'd rather talk to you on the phone. It's a lot quicker, a lot easier. You know, I'll have people text me info, text me your phone number and your address and stuff if I'm busy. You know, we'll get back to you. Or, you know, that's fine. But generally, it's easier for me just to talk to you on the phone instead of spending a half hour texting back and forth. If you want to text me, fine. You want to email me something? A lot of contractors email me the plans, and then I'll just print them off so I have them. But I'm sort of old school.
That's
and
your preferred contact. The phone.
Yeah, I'd rather just talk to you in person.
Got it. Got it.
So,
Okay. Well, Curt, thanks for being here. This is Curt Napierala. Did I say it right?
you said it right. Yep.
Curt Napierala, CTE Electrical Contractors. I really appreciated talking to you. Thanks for being at the Homesight Insight, and
glad to be here.
I hope this does you some good. And I know I refer them as much as I can because we know referring is a risk, right? You want to refer somebody who's not necessarily the cheapest, but somebody who's going to really take care of my clients, and that's what I get from Curt. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.